The year 1866 was marked by a bizarre development, an unexplained and downright inexplicable phenomenon that surely no one has forgotten. Without getting into those rumors that upset civilians in the seaports and deranged the public mind even far inland, it must be said that professional seamen were especially alarmed. Traders, ship owners, captains of vessels, skippers and master mariners from Europe and America, naval officers from every country, and at their heels the various national governments on these two continents were all extremely disturbed by the business. In essence, over a period of time, several ships had encountered an enormous thing at sea. A long, spindle-shaped object, sometimes giving off a phosphorescent glow, infinitely bigger and faster than any whale. The relevant data on this apparition, as recorded in various logbooks, agreed pretty closely as to the structure of the object or creature in question. Its unprecedented speed of movement, its startling locomotive power, and the unique vitality with which it seemed to be gifted. If it was a cetacean, it exceeded in bulk any whale previously classified by science. No naturalist, neither Cuvier nor Lacépède, neither Professor Duméry nor Professor de Quatrefages would have accepted the existence of such a monster sight unseen, specifically unseen by their own scientific eyes. Striking an average of observations taken at different times, rejecting those timid estimates that gave the object a length of 200 feet, and ignoring those exaggerated views that saw it as a mile wide and 3 long, you could still assert that this phenomenal creature greatly exceeded the dimensions of anything then known to ichthyologists, if it existed at all.
Good gracious me. I don't know who's like anger stuff. I'm not gonna go too much into this. I don't know why, but I've been listening to this Grandmaster Wolf. I have to say, I think he's a phony. I think he just uses some magic tricks. Everything he says about scientists that can be funded. So if he's trying to prove anything with science, it's probably clear that he's a phony. And the way he talks, it doesn't sound... You see, it's very hard to judge someone else. But when I see him, I have the feeling he's not true. Am I true to doubt another man? I cannot say. Let's talk about jam. All right. I do jam different than other people. It says on the package, I don't know how long to cook this. I'm just cooking it because I have the feeling this needs a bit of cooking. Because I also like the process of stirring, because it adds something to the potion, right? It's like sometimes I stir it, clockwise, and sometimes I stir it counterclockwise. I usually don't count them. I just do it according to feeling, because it has something right here also bringing the energy into this, which is why I was reluctant to film this, because I'm sometimes afraid to jeopardize the healing properties of my potions, because my potions are basically my food. Because I cook only when I have love, which means that I also have to prepare myself to have something available, I believe. Right? Because somehow I am investing energy. And for some reason this feels heavy, because I'm also investing energy into other things. So if I'm mentally channeling energy into things, to me, that is an effort. Grandmaster Wolf says it's not. I always think if I do this energy work, I have to be broken and I have to have back pain and I have to walk like, right? And I need food and eat and sleep and all this kind of stuff. You know, I don't know if I need all these things, but I certainly like to take it a bit slowly every once in a while. Because otherwise I'm really just on a suicide mission. And that's just taking the edge off, right? You know, I've been doing a lot of crazy stuff, like, you know, you don't have to be in war to fight for your life. Because what's being suffocated at the moment is the free spirit. And it's been suffocated by maybe institutions, right? That always stop your flow, right? You always have to ask for permission. And it's also being suffocated by the people who have been webbed into this system of institutions, right? I was trying to keep this solely about jam, but it's impossible because this is free jam, and free jam likes a bit of insight. And this is why I make this jam in the way that I want to make it. And my feeling says, just bring it to a boil one more time and then start filling these jars. Jars, right? So let's see. Maybe I should put something underneath. I don't have to, I think. You know, it's always a challenge to do something, because what I've realized is if you do something and you share it, people are trying to jeopardize it. You know, if there's something that brings you joy, then people often get jealous and they try to take it away from you. Which is simply the way it is. Right, it's like really strange the kind of cheek some people have, right, when they think they have the right to be unfriendly because someone once was unfriendly to them. You know, and it always brings me to this place where I don't want to give anything anymore because people are so toxic. I think, you know, just leave it, right? You make jam, you give it to someone, and the person says, yeah, I don't like cinnamons. Like, well, my bad, right? You won't get any anymore now. Or maybe you just give them another one without cinnamon, but I like cinnamon. More for me, right? And more for the people that I like having around. I mean, I like a lot of people. I like to have a lot of people around. But sometimes it's also a little bit, yeah, right? It's like, if you're like this, I just will stop talking, if you know what I mean. And that's the attitude I'm trying to maintain at the moment, that if somebody just uses me to make themselves feel better, I'll just stay at home, clean, feed myself, smoke a doobie, lay in bed, be a bit lazy, listen to music, right? Really clean also the apartment. Yesterday I cleaned the whole apartment, which is always a challenge. And with always, I mean always. Because every time I start helping people, which I do in a way, or every time I leave the apartment, there are people in need of a friend or something, right? And because I happen to be to a certain degree friendly. Like, they often think they can stretch the boundaries a little, which is true, and I can do that, but I also realize that it's very draining work, because it's hard work with your heart. Right? There's no guarantee this will turn out good. You know, I washed them out with soap and then I rinsed them with hot water. I didn't use boiling water this time, it's also an experiment. Plus, experience says that this won't last long enough to go bad. Plus, I made others where I also didn't take it too serious and they lasted. And I have an adequate amount of sugar in here, right? It's interesting with the bananas, but I cooked it enough. Alright, I'm just gonna bring it to a boil one more time. This is purely intuition with experience. I've done this before. Just want to check. Right, I have done this before. Jam is not really a mystery. You use sugar and fruits. I also made jam without this special sugar. I just used normal sugar and then I boiled it. I cooked it for a longer time. And then the water leaves and then you also have jam. Because I don't know exactly what they use, what they put in here, in this sugar, especially for jams or marmalade. I think this is more marmalade. I don't know if there's a difference. So I think if I would sterilize it, it's just balancing my fear. Because I have a good feeling, I rinse them, it's dry, they're dry, I have a good feeling. And that's all you can have. But sure, there's always a bit of fear. Experience will show what I have created here. That rhymed. Wow. Yeah, that's hot. Right, so be careful. Maybe I just did this for show. Wow, that gave me a rush, man. Right, you fill it. Maybe you take and then you screw it shut. And then you place it upside down. And then it's sealed. Right, sounds fairly easy. I burnt my thumb. But it's alright, right? You hurt yourself, you learn from it. Wow, this is really hot. So it's not the first time I'm doing this, which is good, because then you're also a little bit more confident. Wow, this is so hot. All right. So the big ones are nicer, at least for this huge soup spoon thing. The big ones are the ones I use from coconut fat jars. The rest, I think I will put into something because I'm just going to use it. Check it. How many do I still have? 1, 2, 3. Yeah, it's enough. Right, sometimes you may get a little lazy. But you see, this is like, yeah, I mean, if you add it together, if I would have done this straight away without waiting so long, I would have been done with this in maybe 1 hour, 2 hours. And then you can produce several jars of jam which will last you for a couple of weeks. Which means you don't have to buy stuff from the shop for a couple of weeks, at least not jam. You can experiment, you can use different types of sugar, you can use different types of fruits. You can use different types of spices. You can make the jam with different types of music, which means you can figure out whether making jam with different types of music changes the way you feel when you eat it, which I can almost guarantee, by the way. So tomorrow I have another session, but now it seems a little bit easier because I just don't want these fruits to go bad. This is going to be orange and banana jam. I have a lot of bananas and I'm attempting to use them. I could also do it now, of course, but it also gives me a reason to stay away a little from everybody else, because all I have to say is I'm making jam at the moment, so I don't have time, right? You just have to keep yourself occupied. And it's hard for people, some people, to set boundaries. I've set some boundaries. This is the boundary I set for this video. Cheers. So making jam is really easy. You can make jam with strawberries. You can make orange jam. I take the whole orange. I may take the pits out, but it's actually not important. You can, I use the peel because that's how I like orange jam, with the peel inside. So I just cut it into pieces. And then you just make it like any other jam. You just bring it to a boil. You can even make lemon jam. You can make grapefruit jam. I'm not sure if you would keep the peel on for grapefruit jam. Of course, if you're concerned with pesticides, I think my body can deal with it. Yeah. But I'm also trying to avoid them a little. But if somebody gives me a lot of oranges, I'm going to use them. You can even take juice. If you have a really favorite orange juice, you could make jam with that. Some people don't like pieces in their jam. I like it. You can make jam with anything. You could even create some kind of coffee jam, or bread spreads with coffee in it. You have to experiment a little with that. You can, for example, just buy peanut butter that has nothing else inside but peanuts, so like peanut mousse, probably more like. And then you would add, you could add a bit of coconut fat to create more like a spreadable paste. And then you would add probably you could also buy chocolate butter, or you could buy chocolate that you like. I would probably buy more raw cacao. And then I would add, you can also buy cacao butter. And then you could make a really nice chocolate bread spread. Of course, you can add sugar to it if you want. You can add dates to it if you want. And then you have a really nice Nutella, and healthy. Because I'm not always sure what they put into Nutella or into other kind of things that you buy in the shops. I rather mix it myself, because if it's mixed by machines, where it's like AI, right? There's nothing to it. There's no emotional yeah, sometimes I want to see people naked when I look into their windows, you know, I'm honest about it. I'm always hoping that I have a really sexy neighbor or neighbors. But yeah, sometimes it's also nice to close the shutters. I really like being in here. That was 2 months of hard work, transformation. If it means anything to you, to me, that's my life. Transforming, channeling energy, transforming. And that's my mission. If I talk to you about it, you may understand what I say. If I talk to other people about it, they probably will not understand it. If you can manage to listen to what I'm talking about here, then you are probably a bit like me. But then you also have to make your own experiences. So what I'm talking about here, what my mission is to talk about my experiences, because I've been giving the gift, of words. I know how to express myself. These are things that came to me, and I took responsibility for my desire to share what's happening to me so that others may learn from it. Because not everybody will have the time to devote his entire life, because maybe you already have a family, or maybe you don't have parents to support you and buy you, pay your apartment. I have that. That's also part of the spiritual package, as other teachers have talked about or referred to, which in that sense is probably Ram Dass. And although Grandmaster Wolf, I can't take him too serious, I would have to see whatever his telepathy thing is in person directly. And I would probably have to choose the balloons that he uses. And I would probably have to pick the paper that he says he can burn with his fingers. Because if that's, if I can't see it, I don't care. It's probably possible from what I know. I think it's a lot of bogus. It just seems like a magic trick. And I believe it has little to do with spirituality. And it's actually a confusion, but it certainly created some ripples, but it also creates a lot of doubt. So I work with experiences. I talk about what I've experienced, how I feel, and that's, I think, what you can relate to in a much better way. So now I've got a little bit left in there, just looking for a container, or I just let it cool down. Or maybe I'll just put it into a small jar, because it doesn't have to, I'm not going to keep it for long. And that's also why I like it, that sometimes I get presents from people, right? Suddenly I like buying food in glass jars or getting food in glass jars because I see value in it. Before I had nothing to do with glass jars, and now suddenly I'm making jam. I mean, who would have thought? It's like life is so weird. But if I don't do this, if I don't have my own rhythm, I feel like I'm going insane and I want to punch through walls. So no, anybody who's still doubting my reasons for doing this, I have no intention to switch to a normal job, because I can fill a whole room with my presence, people. I can fill an entire room with my presence, the entire room, and hold the space. This is as close as you'll ever get to, explaining shamanism or holding ceremony or rituals for healing. This is what you have to do. You will have to be able to have peace in your heart and then spread it through the entire room or the entire city where you live. right? You can even spread it across continents, but that takes a lot of focus, a lot of attention, and a lot of, like, you know, careful choices in order not to destroy that kind of energy, because it can be destroyed through acts of violence. And with Osho, for example, he was building up the energy for something like this, and then he left the people for money and sex, which is why he realized something, but then he fell with his face into the mud and people started walking over him. And where he left me was that men can't have multiple orgasms, because that's simply not true. You can. I wouldn't know how, but I know that you can, which is for you a goal to reach, and for me as well. I want to see what sexuality really has in stock. And that's why I keep myself clean for the woman that I love, and that's all I had to say. And that's really hard. You know, that's I'm just saying, I'm an Aquarius. You know, I'm a wiggly as heck. You know, you put me anywhere, I merge into the place. Which is why I had to learn to set up really firm boundaries and to swim over, under, or past obstacles if it's necessary. Anyway, enough of the sweet talking. Thank you for listening. I'm not quite sure where I'm going with this. Is this already December? No. Is this already September? Who's to say, right? Maybe I should skip some month and do something else instead. We'll see.